Hello, everyone. Welcome to this episode of Unity Through Diversity. And today I have my brother Jake come back to this podcast again, and I'm just so happy and so thankful and so exciting to hear your new adventure, new journey. Right? So, welcome, Jake. If you want to introduce yourself again, like your name and what you do and where you at. Okay.
All right. Well, thank you, Gina. Thanks for having me on your podcast. It's exciting to be back. A lot has happened since our last one. I feel like our last podcast wasn't even that long ago, but a lot of stuff has definitely changed. So, a little bit about me, just introducing myself. My name is Jake Hastings. I am currently the founder and CEO of Offering Heart Wellness Retreats. Formerly, I was a firefighter. So the last time we were on a podcast, I was a firefighter, and we could talk a little bit about that. But yeah, that's who I am.
Yes, that's why I'm so excited. I was like, because it was in February, right? So now it's been
Yeah,
3 months, 100 days
yeah, wow.
transformation journey. That's why I was so excited to bring you on because last time you were still you still have the firefighter's job and
Correct.
had idea of you want maybe resign and you have no idea how your boss gonna say how you're gonna leave the job, and now you are the founder of the new business, new venture, new the passion, right? So in the shortly in the last 100 days, this is, I mean, how fast you can go, right?
It was
um
very fast.
yeah, so I want to actually ask you some questions about, because we were talking about, right, like after our podcast recording last time, and you are, yeah, I'm gonna go back, travel back, I'm gonna just resign. So tell us a little bit about this, like your what you were thinking inside. But now you already experienced the journey, you're like, oh, okay, that was not too hard. But when you were in it, matter of fact that you were thinking about how I can approach, how can I write down those things to hand to the boss. I want to listen, a little bit more of details in that part.
Okay, yeah, definitely. So yeah, when we were talking, we had met at Road to Union, and when we did our podcast at the time, I was really in a life change, or where I wanted to be in a life change. I wasn't happy with where I was and what I was doing. I was a little bit of background for maybe those who haven't heard the first episode is I was a firefighter outside of Portland, Oregon, and I'd been a firefighter there, firefighter EMT for 6 years. And I had enjoyed my time there and enjoyed my job as a firefighter, but things were starting to get to me where I wasn't happy with where I was. I felt like my creativity was a little stifled. I felt like I wasn't serving my bigger mission, which we'll talk about the bigger mission here in a little bit. But at the time I was serving, but it just wasn't fulfilling. I would just, it was the daily grind going into work, doing the firefighter thing, which was awesome, but it really started to weigh in on me, especially from the mental health standpoint, where I had a string of really horrendous calls that I was on for almost a year straight, where it was just nasty, horrendous, traumatic calls back to back to back. And it really started weighing heavy on me, where I was having sleep issues, I was having nightmares, I was being very irritable, and I wasn't living the life that I wanted to live. And I wasn't happy anymore doing the firefighter gig. And, signing up to go to Road to Union was kind of the first kick to transitioning into my new life. And through that time, just in the few days that we were there, meeting people like yourself and actually getting to go on your podcast and talk about where I wanted to be, it was kind of an awakening for me. Hearing myself talk about it and actually hearing the episode, I was like, wow, I really need to make a big change. So I did. I made a big change and I made the jump. And here we are.
Yes, that road to uni. I mean, it's something like I always know when we go into something, it's not for that thing. It's more of a connection and more of after that, right? But we can talk about that too because actually you find your, the union part, the partners, which is
Yes,
also
it
very
was
exciting.
surprising. Yeah.
um, I just want to give the our audience a little bit background because last time we made the episode called chasing the badass to
Yes.
becoming the badass, right? Because when we recorded that podcast, and then all the roles you took on in your life, you want to be that badass. You are chasing. You the feeling was I need to do this to be a badass. But
Correct.
I think through that recording, we realized that you are becoming, you are the badass. Like what you're chasing, like, you know. So I was like, hey, maybe I made a joke. I think I still remember that. I was like, hey, I think I have your next book's name ready. It's called
Yeah.
Becoming the Badass, or the third one is Be the Badass. I think you made this the quantum leap from on the podcast last time 100 days ago. You were like, oh, chasing, right, this and that, writing the book. Now 100 days later, you're literally embodying, because I said that, oh, you are embodying this energy. Don't you realize that? Did you see that? So I just want to kind of give the audience a kind of background. Is like, you know, how's your book going, because you were writing a book, right? So
Correct.
we try to catch up a little bit left from our last episode. So people was like, okay, well, okay, he's a firefighter. You're talking about
Hmm.
writing a book. So I try to connect the storyline.
Okay, yeah. So just a quick synopsis of that for everybody. Essentially, I've spent my entire adult life working in uniform services of some aspect. I was a ski patroller, I was a park ranger, I was a firefighter, I was a military medic. I've done all of these things in the name of chasing the title of badass. I always thought to find fulfillment, I needed to work these really awesome, cool jobs to be a badass. Well, my book is telling the story, and it's telling the story about my journey from working all these uniform services to where I am now, which is the founder of a company called Offering Heart. And Offering Heart is a wellness retreat company with an emphasis on raising awareness and financial donations for nonprofits that I believe in. And in particular, right now, we are raising money for a organization outside of Austin, Texas called Down Home Ranch. It's a live-in residential ranch for adults with intellectual disabilities. So it started out as a ranch for people with Down syndrome to live and work and have a fulfilling life on the ranch, but it's now blossomed into something bigger where it's adults on the autism spectrum and across the board of intellectual disabilities. They can live a fulfilling and meaningful life and have a job and have a community and have people to watch out for them and take care of them in their day-to-day lives. And so right now the company is kind of taking off to where we are hosting our first virtual retreat in June with a big tech company there, and they are doing a virtual offsite retreat with us. And we are donating a portion of the proceeds to supporting Down Home Ranch. At the same time, I'm going to be spending the entire month of June there. I've basically created my own internship. I called them up and just said, hey, I want to learn the entire back end operations of running a large nonprofit like this. So they are plugging me in, and I'm going to be working with the board of directors, with the directors of planning and operations to learn the entire operations of the ranch so I can bring in more of these retreats to the ranch to raise more awareness and raise more money.
Beautiful. That's two things I want to circle back. First of all, maybe one day after you intern know how to run the nonprofit, because I think that's something very valuable. Because for me, I want to start some nonprofit organization, you know, right? But a lot of things we're doing, we want to serve the group of people, right? It's nonprofit instead
Yes.
of like big company business was, right. It's not our intention. So, you know, first one did that. And the second one is that actually was my question, is like, now do you see that all the job or work, however you call it, or the career you went through now come into right now, you actually utilize every single job, careers, the gifts, the talents, the training, now come all together for this, it's called Offering Heart, right? Did I say it right?
Offering Heart, yes, correct.
Yeah, for this new consciousness. I don't want to say call it business, because it's not business, it's a consciousness come through you, because you went through all kinds of this job career that you did not understand. Remember last time we were talking about the career, I think you took in the army, right, for how
Yes.
many years?
Yep.
2 years?
I was in the Air Force as a medic for 6 years.
Yeah, 6 years. I remember six
Yeah.
years. So that time we're talking about how you support those, you know, the families, you know, their mental health. And we were, you
Yes.
know, yeah, one day you will know why. And I feel like
Exactly.
this moment is like, wow, I needed that. I needed this training. I needed that training to come back to this. I would literally, when you're saying, I was writing down the mental health and you were talking
Yes.
about that. So tell us a little bit more of like, we still haven't get to the part of you resign, because
Yeah.
I,
Yes.
so is the resign happen first before you already have this offering heart, this consciousness going through you, or which one was
Well, to backtrack a little bit, and at this point, I think we could talk about the union part. Is the surprising part about Road to Union was that while I was there, I did not think that I met a person that I would bring into my life as a partner, as a girlfriend. And it turns out I did meet a lovely young woman who was living in Portland at the time. So we met at Road to Union, but we ended up spending more time together when we were in Portland. And so from there, the relationship started blossoming. And I had originally told her, I am not looking to get settled down. I don't want to settle down with someone who's going to stay in Portland, because I knew at that point I wanted to leave. I didn't know where I was headed or what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to leave.
yes.
And I had told her about this dream that I had, just kind of wanting to host these retreats. And it was just an idea at the time. Well, she is an incredibly driven and smart person, and she actually came up with the name Offering Heart, and she was able to kind of help me take what my idea was and turn it into an actual legitimate business where, she's been very pivotal in booking our first company. She's an executive assistant for a big tech company, and through her connections she's been able to help me book one of our first clients, and then potentially we may have more already lined up. So she is very detail oriented and very, spreadsheet driven, which is not me at all. I'm not very, yeah, I'm not small details. I'm a big picture kind of person, and she's small details. And so we became a very good team together. And she is helping me live out this dream right now. And she's all on board with it also. And so when it was time to quit, the irony is that she was a paramedic for 13 years. So out of all the people on the planet that I could meet at the specific time that I needed to meet, was someone who left the job that I was doing and moved her way out of it, and she moved into the tech industry. So she was able to help guide me through that entire process of, look, you just need to make the jump. I get it. You're having the nightmares and the irritability and everything that goes along with post traumatic stress disorder.
Yes.
And she was able to help me guide into that. And so from there, just one day, you were wondering about the resignation. I literally just got on Google Docs and I typed up a resignation letter, and I sat on it for probably a week. And I was trying to figure out all kinds of different ways. I was like, oh, maybe I could move down to Austin and work with this ranch, and maybe I'll long distance commute, because we work a specific schedule where firefighters can do that. And it just didn't sit right with me. I just knew that if I always kept one foot in and didn't fully jump, I would never get anything done, because for years I wanted to get out of the fire service and go do something like this. So I just eventually just submitted my resignation. The irony is that when I was at Road to Union, they really just kind of gave me the ticket to get out, because they had moved me from my station that I'd been at for years. They had cross shifted me to a different shift, and they had moved my vacation days around. And they did all this without asking me or without telling me. And so it just didn't sit right with me. And I thought, man, that is the sign right there that it's time to go do something. And so I submitted resignation, and then probably 2 weeks later, I told my girlfriend, I said, I'm moving. Do you want to come with me? And she said, heck yeah. So we moved off to Colorado, and we've been in Colorado for 2 months right now. We've been building the business, but at the same time, I've been working with a natural horsemanship trainer here in Colorado, learning the horse stuff, because a lot of what I want to tie into our company is using therapy horses to help adults with special needs, and also working into the trauma sector where we can use horses to help with post-traumatic stress disorder training and therapy. So that's kind of where we're at there. Just made the jump, and here we are.
Yes, that's so exciting. Thanks for, filled up the story a little bit, because I was, oh, cool, great. I just want to give our audience another background, because we talk about Road to Union for probably 10 times. So Road to Union is I would say, like Aubrey Marcus, right? He created this 3 days retreat for, actually, to me, my personal, I would say Road to Union is a introduction of actually dropping off all the stories to be open up your the relationship, how you see union as see a relationship partnership in to boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, whatever. It's not just for single person, but also for people who has partner. parent right now, or move into a uni, which means I would be conscious communication, understanding each other's needs, and also make people feel safe, hold as a space container. So we met this event for over 100 people there, probably. Yeah, we
Yes.
didn't
Yep.
have 100, but I think we had more than 100
Uh,
people
I
there.
think so. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is the program, or the big event. We went there, and some of us, I think, they found their partner. Some of us, like me, I'm still here, and I'm happy. But it gave me the really helped me to rethink what something that was not working, and to reset myself, to take my inventory in the relationship territory, to really, okay, here's I'm at. I'm not in rush, right? Because
Yes.
we've been rushed. I feel like I'm being rushed for over 30 years. I'm still here. So I was like, what's
Yeah.
wrong?
There's a lot of pressure. There's a lot of social pressure to find somebody and be with somebody, and instead of following your passions. But the real magic happens is when you find somebody who is also moving towards the same type of passions. And
By talking about
it's,
that,
yeah.
you were telling me the story. I literally seeing, sometimes we feel we are so alone, right? So lonely. I'm just doing my things, like everything is, I have to grind, things like that. But we didn't know that's another person, individual, is doing the
Uh,
same thing, thought she's the only person gonna support herself, but somehow she's keeps things up and moving, and she's gaining the experience. You are gaining your experience on your ends, or the in the army serve, mental health. You
mhm.
have no idea that you carry those knowledge, wisdom, and one day meet a woman that she went through all those years in her territory, sort of, what the heck I'm gonna do with that, right? Now you
Yeah.
meet together, you're like, hey, that universe is working things so crazy. That's making me have goosebumps, because I felt it's magical in making. But a lot of time we don't know, and I always tell people it's like we don't have to know, but our human minds always try to know who's my partner, right?
Yes.
Who's gonna be the next person I'm gonna meet? We want to know everything, but universe, hey, you are blind. I blind you for a
Hmm.
reason, because you need to focus on gaining your own wisdom, knowledge, for when you meet this person. So it clicks, everything clicks.
Exactly.
That's how I feel like when you tell me the story. I still have goosebumps. It's like, wow, that's so magical, that your strength is not her strength. Things she's
Yes.
not good at, is she's like, hey, jump it, But
It's,
universe
yeah.
has a way of pushing people out, not pushing people out, because when we try to ignore the sign and symbols, your life's gonna be suffering,
Hmm.
but you try to holding on this rock or as branch when the current is moving that way, which means the situation you were talking about was the part is like you were still thinking that you can move to Austin, still be part-time, with firefighter. They're like,
Yeah.
don't you see that we move everything, just want you to, hey, I'm done with it and I'm okay
Hmm.
with it. Not say done as a bad thing. It's like you have other things you need to fulfill. University say, hey, it's time to make peace with all the things, because they are wrapping you up to prepare you for next journey.
Yeah.
So it's kind of very, when we share the story, now we look back, we realize, yeah, universe already giving me the sign. I was in this period of time of having hesitation, and I'm glad in that period of time you met your girlfriend right now. She actually gave you some like this foundation grounding things. Oh, if
Oh
I
yeah.
actually I have something to start right away, instead of like a lot of time, like myself 2 years ago when I jumped out of the relationship I was going through, I had no idea. Like university is like, Gina, this time is the, if you can go through this part, everything in your life later you will be more calm, smooth. I had no idea when I jump out what will happen. Literally zero, no, zero clue. So you are very lucky, don't you think?
Very much so. And the irony, I mean, exactly what you're talking about, but for a long time, I was looking for a person. And then the irony of the entire situation is that I wasn't not only looking, I didn't really go to Road to Union to meet somebody. I went there to try to figure out what my next step was. And her and I didn't even spend any time together at Road to Union. That's what the funny part is. We didn't spend time together until we got back to Portland, and we ended up going on a couple of trips together. But we took my truck camper and we went camping in the desert. We went to some hot springs, and through that traveling together, we just realized how much we can benefit each other. And this is the first relationship that I've ever been in that she has done nothing except bring positive
Mm,
vibes into my life. She brings so much positivity and so much drive and so much benefit to our relationship that it's something I'm not used to. Now I'm playing catch up because, I mean, just like everybody, we've all been in damaged relationships where we've got bad habits to break and things like that. But what we do have is communication, and we're able to talk about anything literally anything that comes up that might bother either one of us. We can talk about it openly, and it works out really well. But like you're talking about, like having that right person in your life and having the universe just kind of letting it do its thing and say, hey, this is who you need in your life. Or maybe at that time you don't need anybody in your life and all you need is good friends or business connections or whatever. That might be it. And the key takeaway is to don't rush it. If you rush any of these things and you're trying to go on your timeline, none of it works. And so going back to, like writing my book, well,
Yes.
I can only get so far in my book because I haven't quite got the ending to it yet, ending to the first one. Now I'm moving into that part of my life where I'm moving into, hey, this is going to be the wrap up of my first book.
Yes.
But until then, if I was trying to rush anything, all of it was timing based, and the timing has just worked out perfectly. And so from here, I want to use my platform and tell my stories. Like, look, I've done a lot of really cool stuff in the world. I've done a lot of badass things. However, my life is meant for more. I have a bigger mission now. And the people that I meet along the way, like yourself and other people, I've made some great friendships through Road to Union and other things. It's all coming together where, hopefully you and I can partner up and we can do some things to really help some people, just partnering up with other people. And now I'm partnering up with large companies that really want to give back to the community and give back to their employees. And the irony is that we've learned that there's a lot of people that work in the tech industry that are actually neurodiversity, like neurodiverse. There, a lot of them are on the autism spectrum, whether it's Asperger's syndrome or autism disorder of any kind, because a lot of them are very incredibly intelligent with
Yes.
engineering and coding and things like that, but they might not feel included in their companies because the communication isn't there. Maybe people don't know how to communicate with them because they communicate in a different style,
Yes.
or they don't know how to communicate. And so now we're really working in that industry to help people with communication and teach them that, hey, everybody has something to bring to the table. Let's learn how to communicate with everybody. And so this is a big space that we're getting into. And I'm just trying to gather as many people along the way as I can to help me with this mission, because I feel like we can make a big difference.
Yeah, definitely. Because you were talking about timing is, there's no time. The 3D time is one way to say time, but the other time we're talking about is when we in flow.
Mm-hmm.
In Chinese culture we say Dao, right? We
Yeah.
Dao means when things in flow, that's the timing, not the timing as, oh, this in 3 days I need to turn this final. That's the 3D version of timing. But when you need to turn that in, when you finish that. Whenever you finish that is the time to turn in. So that's
Mm-hmm.
the timing we're talking about. And also the timing we're talking about, I want to back circles to have a little bit. I want to kind of like the story from last time, you we met and we had podcasts to you turn in to quit your job. I want to
Mm-hmm.
let the people, because the reason I ask that is because a lot of people are going through the transition period of time, and like I said, because you already you went to other side of tunnel, so it seems very simple now. Like I just did it, right? I jump it. I just, but a lot of people are on the fence of this side and that side, which were you went through. So I want,
Mm-hmm.
because you just came out fresh, basically. So a lot of things you probably still couldn't. You were like, wow, I did that. I couldn't believe I did that, right? So I want to kind of give you, my question was, how did you feel when you turn in that piece of paper that you googled format from Google. And how did you feel in that 2 weeks of waiting? Because now to pull the trigger, the hardest part is pull trigger. After you pull
Yes.
trigger, is actually you cannot do anything, because after you turn in, you're like, if I'm
Yeah.
dead, I'm dead, right? Like you cannot control anymore. But to to pull that trigger is a lot of people are at this stage right now. They're still on the fence. And I always tell people, it's like, you have a whole life to make one decision. You have time,
Hmm.
and then don't
Yeah.
rush. But also, you also know this human body has expiration date. You're gonna die. You're not gonna die. Your body gonna die. So
Yeah.
like it's your time to, you make a decision in 2 weeks or 2 months or 2 years. So I want to kind of at that moment of, because people are hearing your story in 100 days, transform your life upside down, inside out, from single to meet a divine partner, from firefighter, which is awesome job, we
Hmm.
truly need it, to now you have this new company to working with this, offering this retreat. It's a totally different 180. Okay, so let's not take it as, oh, brush off, this is small, this is huge, and I want to kind of go a little bit deeper, uh brief this part. So for whoever is listening, they're like, how did he do that? What was he thinking? So I want you to maybe in your way to describe it, how do you feel that time?
Okay. Yeah. I mean, scary. That's how I would sum that up. And it's interesting coming from a career field where I literally would kick down doors to go into a burning building to try to find people. That wasn't scary, but leaving leaving a career where it was my identity. I loved telling people I was a firefighter. I loved, I was an engineer, so I drove the fire engine. I loved driving the fire engine, and I loved waving at people because they were always waving. Um, it was a very respected career. People really respect and treat firefighters well, and we
Yes.
were constantly getting thanked. People are very supportive. And so making the decision to leave that, which was a quote unquote safe government job,
Yes.
and I was making good money at it, I had good time off, but I knew that I had a bigger mission to accomplish. And so making that leap over, I mean, I felt so stuck for years. I was just
What
very, very
is the
stuck.
feeling? What is the feeling when you say this big mission? Because I want to tune into that frequency so people can understand, like you say, the safety nest, this,
Hmm.
you are make it, in the 3D human standards. Good job from government, right? You paid well,
Hmm.
you have vacation. Yeah, and you be well respected, right? So all those things, people are in it. But what are the when you say this pulling, this we call soul calling, right? How do you feel about that? And when you ignore that, how do you feel about that? Because a lot of people, they thought they are in your own head, have something crazy idea. And
Yeah.
I want to use your own words to share, because I share my own words of telling people how to identify, right? How to differentiate different voice in their head.
Yeah. Well, what I could tell people is that I had this, it was just this constant nagging, this constant pulling at me that I needed to do something different. And I was truly unhappy living in Portland, Oregon. That city used to be great, but it really spiraled down the toilet bowl fast. And it, every time I would go back there, so I had time off to go travel because I was able to stack my shifts and do trades where I could go take time off 2 or 3 weeks at a time to go travel. But every time I had to come back to Portland, it was this negative energy that just overhung the entire area. It just, people were, they were grumpy, they were irritable, they weren't kind. They were, it was kind of like walking around in zombie land is what it really felt like. And I just, man, I just would be grumpy myself or irritable there. And I found out that I didn't have a lot of friends because not a lot of people that live there are really from there. They move from all over the place. And so it's a very individualistic type of place to live. And it was difficult for me to make friends. And that might have been just me personally. I don't know. I'm from Texas. So you can imagine I didn't fit in Portland, Oregon super great. Uh, but eventually it just got to the point where I was like, I need to go do something different. And having the realization that I saw death every single day at my job. Death was a normal occurrence. I would see people die of old age. I would see people die, of car crashes and whatever. There's a million ways for people to die, and I've seen a lot of them. But eventually, like it's weird living in this world where you see death every day, and then life is really short, and that you have this life to go live and go do something bigger with. It's crazy knowing that and seeing it, but then not doing anything about it. So I was stuck in this internal combat with myself of trying to be like, hey, you know you need to go do something different. And so for years it was just dragging on me, and it affected everything in my life. I mean, it affected everything from my relationships to my friendships to just everything that I did. And I was incredibly lonely. I felt very alone because a uh, I'm speaking from a man's standpoint. A man needs a mission, and he needs a passion to follow.
We
And when a
all.
man is, yeah, exactly. Everybody does, but like I said, I'm just from my standpoint as a man, like I needed something bigger than me to, and I wasn't following it. I thought firefighting was going to fulfill that for me, but it didn't. And the irony is that I was ignoring it the entire time because, like we talked about on the first podcast episode, my brother is autistic.
Yes.
And that has always been my true passion in life, is to help people with special needs. And I wasn't following that. Yeah, I may have been saving lives, but I needed to save lives in a different way. And so making that jump was extremely scary. And everything didn't just poof go away. Yes, I was a lot happier, but it's a lot of stress. And you talk about finances. I mean, I've got some money saved up, but making the jump, that money just starts dwindling fast when you don't have a paycheck. And so trying to leave a secure paying job and move into the entrepreneurship world, where now it's all on me, I don't just have a steady paycheck coming in. It's still very nerve wracking and very scary. That, I'm not going to lie about that. And people need to know that when they are going to make the jump to follow their passions, is when you make that jump or pull the trigger, you might get a little relief, but also becomes a lot scarier. So I have come out of the tunnel, as you said, on the other side of it, but there's more tunnels ahead.
Yes.
I'm only in this little break between tunnels right now because I'm about to go into another tunnel, or
You're
going into a
already
tunnel. Yeah, already in, exactly. Yeah. And so it's just a new adventure, but I also know that the things I've done in my life were way harder than starting my own company. So I'm going to do my own company, and I have full faith that we're going to be very successful, specifically because there's a bigger mission tied behind it. I don't feel like this can fail. I feel like it's going to be blessed and very successful, just because they can't outgive me. Every single cent that we're going to make with the company, we're going to be donating a portion of that profit to helping Down Home Ranch or other nonprofits that really need help. And on top of that, donating time. So, I'm donating an entire month, literally a month, to go down there and help them and learn this process. And I'm hoping to eventually be on the board of directors. And I would love to be on board of directors for multiple nonprofits and be able to guide them and to be very successful. But yeah, it's still scary, and there's a lot of unknowns. But doing things like this, like getting on a podcast and just trying to share the mission, and seeing like, hey, I'm just a guy who has this vision. Is there anybody else that wants to come along and help me on this
yes.
mission? Bring your skills and bring your unique experiences, and let's try to help as many people as we can. Because like you said, our physical bodies are going to die on this planet eventually, and I want to make as much change for the positive as I can. And in today's day and world, with the divisions between all the politics and everything like that, it's we tend to lose focus on, hey, let's help people who this stuff doesn't even really pertain to. There's you can look at things like kids that don't have parents in the foster system and orphanages, or you could look at food problems in other countries, or you could look at food problems here in the United States. And there's so many things that people could get tied into, but we get so tied up and focused on our little issues and issues that don't truly matter, when we could be focusing on working together to help as many people as we can. So that's kind of where I am with this whole situation, and just saying, hey, come follow me or come join me. I don't, I'm not, I don't want to be some messiah or anything. I just want people to, hey, if you got skills, bring them on. Let's go. I'm just a firefighter, military medic, and this is what I want to do. So that's where
Well,
we are right now.
I just wanted to give you so many credits because what I see is you started this wave of actually calling in people to for this mission that you already God, creator, universe, or planted the seed in your field for years ago before you even realize. Now you can trace back
Sure.
from your little brother, right? And all the things you went through, training went through, is prepare you for now. You have knowledge of you work because it's now like when we help people, when we support people, if I haven't going through my own hell, I always say on my own shadow, I will not be understand other people's shadow. Not saying our shadow is same, but the feeling of that. So you went through actually working with the families, you have a little brother, so you know, as a family member, as a career, as you experiencing life and death as firefighter, you
Hmm.
have different perspective that than a lot of people who's not in this specific training you went through. You can teach
True.
people relate on a different deeper level that's nobody could, not say nobody, but
Hmm.
not many, because how many people went through the career sequence like you did? How many of people I went through the sequence I chose? We all
Yeah.
unique. So what I'm seeing is like you start this new wave, but doesn't matter which angle we come in, our big mission, big vision is supporting people, right? Like
Hmm.
mental health part, I do healing. So I'm working on people's energy. By the way, behind my backyard, when I moved in, this is a brain rehab center. My
Oh,
backyard. And my left neighbor, there's one lady, she's paralyzed under neck, and this
okay.
side the lady, she never come out. So when I moved in, I was like, okay, universe, because I got my house in 24 hours. That's nothing. But when it's ready, things shift very fast, right? I jump,
Wow. Yeah.
leap, and when out of my this period of time, and I got the house in 24 hours. So when I moved here, I was like, well, maybe what I'm doing is truly needed here, because I
Yeah.
now people come to my place for all the healing, all kinds of healing. So I basically every day I'm doing healing sessions, sending the healing unconditional love and healing out there. I was like, I don't know why, but maybe later I will understand. So
Yeah.
what I'm saying is we all come from different angle to approaching this big vision, and you definitely with your girlfriend that now you step on this journey and working with this big tech company. Like you
Hmm.
said, those people are, I still remember I was sales marketing person, right, for years.
Okay.
And my like IT director, whatever. And every time we have meeting, sales and IT, usually we cannot communicate very well, because
Uh-huh.
sometimes they speak, I have no idea. I was okay. Would you please speak the way that I need to understand how that works, but you don't need to tell
Uh-huh.
me how to build it, because that's not my way. But I can tell you what people want, right? What they are looking for. So we try to find different language to. So I know it's like you communication. You're talking about communication, especially we are talking about this autism or Down syndrome. To me, their brain frequency is a little bit different from the
Yeah.
so-called normal, but there's nothing wrong with that. They just
No.
function on different frequency. So that's not many people are there, because we still would send kids now if they cannot sit still, then you would be what like ADHD,
ADD. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
ADD whatsoever, and PTSD, whatever things like that. I was like, well, just because we don't understand, maybe we now is our time to come out actually to connect with this group of people, to kind of support them to heal some of their childhood trauma, to be put the label on that you are different. Well, yeah, you are
Hmm.
different, but you are different in a way that you could be proud of, instead of a way of I should be ashamed, I need to hide away, do my thing, and I don't want to communicate. So I just want to circle back and honor you that the way you started, and it's only probably few people could do this thing, is because you understand you worked in the mental health industry, and you worked in the army. You went through this extreme, okay? That like I was
Hmm.
pendulum, so you always swing this side. And like you said, I don't see this could go any, like it could only could be better, because your experience always swing you this side. Now you are come back into the middle to right? You come down, understand what your experience on this extreme. So you're gonna go this way. Because I always
Hmm.
tell people, if you see the pendulum go this way, you know when they swing back, it will go this way. It will not be
Yeah.
stuck right here. So you are at the point of literally integrating, you're already in a new tunnel, or many, maybe if you don't see it. But what I see is
Yeah.
like you are actually regrouping yourself, and understand your strengths, understand your uniqueness, understand your experience. What that really mean? Now you are calling in the resources, platform, the people, and you will be more vocal now, right? I mean, of course, you will talk, on different
Hmm.
situation, but podcasts, those things are more of, you need to really share from your deeply your heart, right? It's
Yeah.
different than I'm just making a 2 minutes video talking about my trip. It's different. So be more of like, I even feel the passion, the this energy is like, yeah, I'm not, I put myself out there. It's not totally not ego. I know, because I'm serving this mission, but
Hmm.
also I'm willing to put myself out there, because I really feel, I really believe, I really trust, right?
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely very important because the people should follow their passions. If they have a calling to go do something that they need to do for a higher calling, then they need to follow that. And it may look different for everybody. Some people, their calling may not be as big as mine, where I had to quit my job and do all this different stuff. But some people may be able to keep their normal day job. And maybe it's just donating money to a cause that they believe in, or maybe it's going and volunteering. I feel like a lot of people are not feeling fulfilled these days
Mhm.
because they're not giving back. And I truly believe that there's no greater calling in this world than helping those that are less fortunate. I believe people will find true happiness if they are serving others. So in the military, when we were going through horrendous training or whatever, we were carrying logs on our head and things like that. The guys who always succeeded the most were the ones who were more concerned about their fellow team members than they were themselves. And it was something about worrying about your team members and helping them that was able to propel these people forward to accomplish their goals also. And I feel like in the regular world, I call it the civilian world because now I'm out of the uniformed services, but in just everyday normal day-to-day life, is when people get too focused on whatever's going on in their life and they lose focus of helping others, they don't find true fulfillment or true happiness. If they would focus on helping others and just taking a small step to do it, even if it's just going out and picking up some trash on the side of the road, or spending time at an old folks home where there's a lot of lonely old people there that would just love people to spend time with them, any of these things will bring true happiness to that person. And so, whatever it is, whatever their mission is, or whatever their calling is, or if people are looking for it, which is a big problem because people are looking for it, I would just tell people just to start, just do something to help somebody else. And then it's a little snowball effect. It starts picking up, picking up. Then maybe someday they do something really big to help others.
Yeah, see the big and small, that then, how we value still, we are in this polarity, right?
Hmm.
Good or bad, big and small. What if it just be it? What if your fulfillment, like you said, everybody is unique, everybody have different gifts. My happiness, your fulfillment, because you are demonstrated, some of us are demonstrated an extreme way.
Hmm.
Set
Yeah.
ourselves to this extreme experience, but a lot of time it like you don't have to have those extreme experience to make your life feel fulfilled. Like you said, start from small things, right. At my backyard, yeah, the guy right there had, I was doing my like garden here, and he came, wheelchair came over, and I saw him a couple times, but I never know who he is.
Hmm.
And he told me who he is, and we talked a little bit, and he told me that he had accident when he's 18, and not lost his leg, but he's paralyzed underneath the waist whatsoever.
Okay.
uh, and we were talking about something, I don't know what exactly, but he asked me, he's like, why you say that? I made a maybe a comment, but he's like, oh, how can you tell that I'm positive whatsoever? I was like, well, if you as a victim, you would say, if you have accident at 18, now you are 35, you probably either blame yourself or blame other people, right?
Hmm.
Because you're not accepting that actual things happen, whatever it is. I was like, you don't have that energy of, either you're blaming other people or blame yourself. And then he offered, I was doing the digging in the garden, and I had a little, on my hand. I didn't even know my
Uh-huh.
was, scraped off. And he borrowed his tool, to me. He's like, you can use any longer you want to. He's like,
Oh.
I feel like I help people fix the lawnmower, fix the truck, whatsoever. That's his way of, besides, he's staying his like mental health, not mental health, the like rehab of this
Uh-huh.
facility here. But he's like, we were talking about, there are so many angry people right now. Like my experience over last weekend, I was like, wow, if I experience this many angry situation in one day, I cannot even believe what's going on there, because I'm very in tune with the surrounding around me. And then we were
Hmm.
talking about anger. So he's like, yeah, people are very angry at the facility, frustrated, things like that. He's like, I kind of like, talk with them, help them feel better. That's his. We were just literally talking about that. Well, maybe that you are a healer too, by the way. He's like, yeah, I'm
Yeah.
healer. So healer doesn't mean you are really make that big, woo woo thing as healing.
Uh-huh.
He could be when people's angry, you be there support them. He could be healing me by borrow me the tool. So I
Exactly.
want to circle back to, those little small things in our daily life. Every little small kind of act is we are helping the world to be a better place. And
100%.
I want to circle back to the company now, the not the company, the new creation that you bring
Okay.
her to the world. I think it's a her for some reason.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's her. How do you feel? I say, how did you? Because obviously, you guys already had the this entity together, right? This
Hmm.
or non-profit, whatever. The how to say that? This human form, we call it, is called the company's identity or this entity. But what it feels like when you feel like she is speaking to you? Maybe this question is a little bit weird, but
No, I'll do my best to answer it. um, this company, it's got a way of just picking up momentum so far. And I feel like it's going to just take off on its own because us partnering together, my girlfriend and I partnering together, is just this new company that is now our first customer. And there was a lot of uncertainty about it. And, we still haven't done our first event. It's mid-June. But when we do it, I already have an idea of what we want to do. But the company that, or the organization Down Home Ranch that we're going to be partnering with, is on board 100%. They said they will give me whatever resources we need, because the entire mission of this is that, yes, the company Offering Heart needs to make money. The company Offering Heart itself is not a nonprofit. It's a for-profit company because I have to have a way to live too. And the goal of it is to partner with, it's to bring these tech companies in to partner with these nonprofits, to where it raises awareness and funds for it also. So that's why it's just starting to pick up momentum. And I feel like
Mhm.
any of the companies that participate in this, we're going to be able to just have a pipeline of donations to support Down Home Ranch. And when I kind of surrendered to this idea and just seeing that it's just taking its own form, it's just taking off. And so um, there's so many moving parts that go along with that. And my girlfriend was a huge, or is a huge part of that also. But I wouldn't have been ready for her unless we've gone through this entire mission or journey that we've talked about so far. And she's just an integral part of that. These companies that are going to be participating are an integral part of this. And I'm excited to go down to Down Home Ranch and spend the month there, because I feel like once I'm there on location, it's also just going to take off. And I feel like we're going to get more companies involved. I'm going to try to host some more smaller wellness retreat type things, maybe doing some breath work. Maybe we partner up and do something while I'm down there. But I feel like it's just going to have this momentum that's just going to pick up on its own, because it's it has to it's a blessed organization already. It's just going to, anytime something's tied into a bigger mission, people want to
Yes.
help. And I would spend my last cent to make sure that my brother is taken care of for the rest of his life, and people that are like him with intellectual disabilities. And so if I'm willing to do that, I feel like other people are going to be willing to pitch in and help with that also.
Yes. So what I feel like is when we are in the alignment, in the flow, which
Mm-hmm.
means we are allow universe to work in front of us. We just follow, which means allow the energy to follow through us. A lot of things we don't have to do too much. Like people always say life is hard. I would say if you believe life is hard, and your life gonna be hard. If you believe life is magical, it be ease and
Mm-hmm.
grace, and you will living in the ease and grace. And when you are in
Yeah.
alignment is when you do not actually go chase back to the chase badass. You don't chase it. You already are the badass.
Uh-huh.
So that's the feeling of the. That's why the reason I ask is because we are channeling the consciousness through us, and to manifest in the 3D for whatever this consciousness want to do. And by the way, we are also a vessel for the consciousness that's in us. So we are literally channel another consciousness through our consciousness to land in the 3D world. So we are actually working with the consciousness, which is our idea thoughts. What you thought is yours, but actually it's not yours. Because why? A lot of time you think about it, some good idea come to you for some reason you didn't fulfill, and 2 months later, 3 months later, you see another person was doing exactly the same thing, very similar things that you were doing, but you didn't make it. So those consciousness, they are jumping from different vessel consciousness that align with the energy need to come through. Like this podcast, I always say it's her. Her consciousness versus my healing practice is totally different. She doesn't
Hmm.
care. She was everywhere probably. Uh, but she has her playfulness. She has her way of doing things. So if I'm standing in the way, I will suffer. I will like, oh, this is not what I want. But
Yes. Yep.
back to this in the flow. So you guys basically is like manifesting through you guys, but also
Hmm.
working with this consciousness, which is really beautiful. And also this consciousness want to help uh raise awareness in this big tech company, and also this consciousness want to support the ranch you just mentioned. So you two are this important physical part that energies are ready for this consciousness to go through you guys. So I kind
Hmm.
of now say be aware, but the more you connect with this consciousness, the easier you will get. Instead of what I want to, always say what she wants to, because
Yeah.
it's literally it's when I do healing, same thing. It's not what I want this person to feel about it. She feel this and that is not what I control, but what they want her to know is what I bring through. So that's very important part of we being clear channel and a vessel for the consciousness
Mm.
to bring through. Do you want
Well,
to? Yeah, go ahead.
so I was going to say it's interesting that you say that because like I said, this isn't all just rainbows and sunshine being in a tunnel. And so I've been applying for different positions. I've applied for probably over 60 jobs online because I keep thinking like I want an online tech job so I can still work my company on the side and do all this kind
Really,
of stuff. But
thanks for
it's
giving us the
interesting.
details.
Well, it's funny because I have a business coach that I've hired, and
Yes.
actually today is our last. I have a meeting with him today, and it's our last session over 12 weeks. And he's a top sales guy, and he's helped people start all kinds of companies. But we had a really good chat last week where he basically told me, he said, you're scared. He said, I understand you're scared. He said, but I have talked to thousands of entrepreneurs. And he goes, and I've told a lot of them this is not something you should be doing. You should get a job. You're not going to make it in the entrepreneurial world. He goes, I'm harsh because I'm a business coach and that's what I do. He said, you're not that guy. He said, you are one of the ones that are going to be extremely successful. He said, but you have to commit to it. And so just talking about manifesting and bringing in the consciousness is that I still am scared. I still have the fear there that I'm not going to have a paycheck. And I have this deep ingrained fear because I came from a poor family. We didn't have any money. I have this fear of loss in my brain that I'm afraid if I don't have a job, I'm not going to make it. Something bad is going to happen. When in reality, I'm trying to not force myself, but I'm trying to tell myself, like, hey, commit fully to this company and it's going to take off. And so, for everyone that's listening, it's like, yeah, my story sounds great, but it's constant fear the whole way. It's pushing through the fear that is where the magic happens, is where big things happen. And so I've been talking to my girlfriend quite a bit about this over the last couple of days because it's like, man, I'm not getting any interviews like I thought I would. And to me, it's a slow process, and I'm a little scared or a little panicky that the savings is running out because I'm just living off my savings right now. But in reality, we already have a big client booked for our first event, and now we've got a second one that potentially might be happening also.
Yes.
And so, yeah, it's manifesting and fully committing and still not having one foot in, one foot out, which is what I'm struggling with right now, to just fully committing and manifesting and making something big happen. So, yeah,
Well,
it's not all sunshine and rainbows, but
yeah, thank you for bringing that up because that's the real life situation for a lot of
mhm,
people when they switch their career. Like myself, when I out of a relationship, we're not talking about this relationship whatsoever, but what I faced was the bigger reason it holding me for a couple of years is if can I be financially support myself? And you're
yeah,
talking about I'm the only person in the United States. I don't have any family here,
wow,
right? So that's the
yeah,
real scary thing. I'm not make up. It's not like I have a parents' place can stay or somewhere.
uh-huh,
I do not have nobody. All I have my two little ones. They are my direct bloodline, right? So when
okay,
I decide to transform my relationship, I was literally the main one, big one's financial, but the second one, not only financial. Financial was top one. Top two is self abandonment issue. I
mm-hmm,
felt I left my parents. I felt my parents didn't love me, but that's my story. So what I'm saying is that a lot of times those are the real thing that hold us not fully step into our potential, and that's are the things that we need to work on. Now that's why I do a lot of healing. This could be one in the like Zeta healing. That's what I would address the fear of not being support yourself. And you literally said it's from you being raised in the situation. So you being kind of like, how to say that, you already have this all the seeing the surroundings, your childhood experience already made you believe, or on certain level subconsciously, is I always need to have some savings around me. If I don't have savings, which means I'll run out, I'm gonna be poor. When I'm poor,
Mm-hmm.
as a little child, I don't know how old were you, but it will remind we still carry our little inner child with us, right, all the time.
Mm-hmm.
5 years old us,
Yep.
10 years old us. So those are the things that when we realize that certain fear, certain scarcity is, I would have people to, if they are not going to session with me, I always have to use the different words to say I'm aware. When you say I'm aware, instead I'm feeling, it's different. I'm
Mm-hmm.
aware is you are actually being a third person witness. You are aware that this person is going through that. Instead, I am, which means that you are in it.
Uh,
In it, you freak out, but you are
mm-hmm.
aware of that, which means you are kind of separated a bit, right? But
Yes.
still, for this be totally not in your field, we need to go back to the inner child healing. This, however old years old you might need some love, because if he's feeling that way, which you, even though you are in this, you know 30 whatever years body, but you still have his energy in your energy field. That's why you keep reminding you certain things coming up, is because the past trauma we had, right? And
Mm-hmm.
some are serving us, some motivate us to go somewhere, some are actually not serving us, depends on where we at. But I always ask people the questions: how do you want to motivate yourself right now? Do you want to constantly prove other people that you are this badass, or you like, I'm the badass, so I don't need to prove to you? This is different energy when we're talking about, right? Like, I
Yeah.
prove to be, or I am, so I don't need to prove. Totally different. So, but thanks for sharing that, because it's really important for a lot of people. They are actually going through this process right now. Like, we do have a lot of fear. Like when I jump. So ironically, 2 years ago, I went to Austin for first service meetup that time, July. And I did after that, I came out, I filed my divorce paper, whatever. I did a spiritual jump, right? I
Okay.
literally thought
Yeah.
I would jump out of an airplane. Now this year, by the way, I'm in the process of going to the first skydiving thing, because
Oh, nice.
I told the people, I was like, you will not see Gina go skydiving. It's not on my list, or it's on the last of my list. But 2 months ago, maybe a couple weeks ago, I realized, I know I'm still scared. I know still I'm gonna freak out, but I feel like I'm ready to actually physically jump out of the airplane.
Yeah.
2 years. I mean, I'm super afraid of height. Um, so fear is something that hold you back. But
Yeah.
doesn't matter which way you go first. Spiritual go way first, emotional, mentally go first, or physically go first. Something need to go first.
Mm-hmm.
And believe, if God loves everybody, God loves you too, right?
Yeah. That is true. Yeah.
I was like, why don't you think God loves that person if you think that he's doing this and that, and you think you are a good person, you have a good heart? Why don't you believe that God also loves you? He's like, yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm a good person. I have good heart. Like, yes, I deserve it.
Definitely.
Yes.
Well, that's cool. That's cool that you're going skydiving also. Good for you.
Well, I will let you know. Actually, in what, like July? Yeah,
Okay.
it will be in July. I will record, because I want to make a this is like memorable experience, because 2 years ago, and around the middle of July, I did this aesthetic dance in Austin. That's why I'm
Okay.
gonna do it in June. And here is an aesthetic dance called Hero's Journey that helped me to. After that aesthetic dance, I came out. I did the
Mm.
thing. So
Okay. Nice.
years later, I want to make it a 2 years of alignment of, like, in 2 years ago, I had a spiritual jump. 2 years later, I'm gonna have the physical jump to wrap up. And also
Yeah.
my birthday is coming up, so I think it's
Okay.
good.
It's the
Yeah,
loop.
yeah, it's a
Yeah.
close the wheel, right? Um,
Yep.
and also, would you tell us a little bit more about the like those companies that you are attracting to work with you, with offering heart, this beautiful
Uh,
lady consciousness? And just give a little bit details. Maybe somebody, some companies, whoever, you have no idea who's listening to this.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, it's funny you talk about manifestation because I have like very specific companies and people that I've manifested. And, it's funny because Matthew McConaughey, the actor, he's one of them because he lives in Austin. I've always resonated with him.
Oh yeah, I love him.
Yeah. Yeah. After I read his book, Green Lights, I was like, wow,
Yeah,
our
yes,
lives have been, yeah, yeah, our lives have been very similar. He lived in a travel trailer and traveled around. I lived in a truck camper. We kind of nomadic, both from Texas, kind of easygoing. And I was like, this is a guy that I want to be a part of this whole organization. I would love for him to be a spokesperson for it, a donor for it. Then I start thinking like, well, Joe Rogan is down there in Austin and big tech companies are moving there. And so Tesla
that's
is
what.
one of the Tesla is one of the companies that I really want to have a solid partnership with in order to do things with Down Home Ranch. And so Down Home Ranch has specific needs. They have these tiny homes. They have a tiny home village there where the
Really,
residents live in
I
these
want to
tiny
go there
homes.
to check it out.
Yeah, yeah, it'd be cool. It'd be great to, come down, and maybe in June you can come down and I'll show you around it. But they have an issue right now where they can't build any more tiny homes because they don't have the septic infrastructure to build more houses. Well, I found out that Tesla is working on a new program, which is basically solar powered water treatment plants. And so I've got this big, lavish goal of trying to get Tesla involved to build one of these solar powered water treatment plants on Down Home Ranch so we can build another tiny home village. And so the momentum from this, and now we've just booked Robinhood, which is the investment company. They're our first client, and they're going to be the ones that are doing this first offsite. And it's fantastic to partner with them because they are going to bring a lot of value to this company, and they're having their virtual offsite retreat, which just by being there, the money is going to be going to support the ranch. And so from there, we're hoping to get more companies, more tech companies involved, and more companies in general that just either want to donate time, donate money. But we're trying to set it up to where they do these virtual offsite retreats anyways.
Yes.
I just want them to use our company because when they use our company, they're not only going to have a fun offsite retreat, but they're going to be giving back in the process. And so they're all the members that are coming from this, we're sending these packets out that have all the information about Down Home Ranch. They have handmade greeting cards from the ranchers, the residential ranchers. They've made them custom cards, and so there's all this kind of cool stuff that these people are going to get, and all they have to do is go to these virtual retreats, which they would be doing anyways. And we're trying to make giving back easy for people, giving back fun and easy and have fulfillment. This helps increase morale and helps increase team cohesion because they're giving back together, so yeah, hopefully we could get a bunch of big companies on board. And it's convenient that all these tech companies are now moving to Austin because I'm hoping that we just kick the door wide open for Down Home Ranch. And my goal is to make that ranch evergreen. I want a huge flow of funds coming in for the ranch that we can support the ranch and keep it in business and keep it functioning long after I'm gone, long after the original founders are gone. I just want it to be very connected.
Sustainable and consistency, right? To
Yes.
support. That's what we try to build is not. I always say things I build right now is like, of course, my healing practice. I need to be here, but I was actually literally having breakfast and it drew a. I was like, what's next? What's next for me?
Mm,
'Cause I
hmm.
like when you arrive to certain, the space or certain timeline, you're like, then what?
Yeah,
That's what my
exactly.
question. I was like, then what? Last couple of days, I feel like they squeezed me to another timeline. I was like, then what? So I literally, I probably can share, but I drew a wheel. So, and I think that's something to come together. But that's my next step is like, how can I pass on some of my healing practice things to create a sustainable this circle of movement, like the wheel of fortune, wheel of the like medicine wheel, or the
Hmm.
wheel of time, whatever, but called as a wheel, the
Yes.
wheel. So I was literally pointing the north would be this, west would be this, east would be this, and south would be it, and middle is a core one. It's right after I done that, this is one of those old buildings, whatever, this Atlantis, whatever, the how they look like. I was like, wow, that's trippy. But anyway, yes, build those sustainable consistency is one of the things. Because I'm gonna die. I don't know,
Yeah.
30 years, 20 years, maybe tomorrow, who knows. When it's my time, it's my time. Will you tell people a little bit more of this, like what are this content, maybe not if it's the secret, it's fine, but what kind type of this, like this online, this like you are providing for the high tech company? Because if people are interested, they're like, what are you going to provide for us for this training or online for your program?
Yeah, yeah. So these companies, they are already doing these offsite retreats, and because so they used to do mostly in-person retreats
Yeah.
where they would get together and it's just team building. And since COVID, because most of these companies have gone remote, they're doing virtual offsites now. So they do virtual offsites every quarter, where they get together and they do different experiences. Maybe they make something together, maybe they make some kind of food together and they have someone teaching them how to make food, etc. Well, this that we're really trying to incorporate now is what we're going to be doing with this is we're going to give a tour of the ranch. And so I'll give a live tour, a tour on Zoom so everybody can see what it is. But then the real substance of it is that we're going to have the ranchers, the residents, so the people who live there, the adults with special needs that live there, they're called ranchers.
Mhm.
We're going to have ranchers talk about each specific area. So they have a greenhouse program where they commercially grow flowers and vegetables and things like that for big grocery stores in Texas. That's one of their main sources of income. So we're going to have a couple of ranchers talk about that specifically. They have a sewing program where they teach them to sew and they make these handbags, and that's something that the ranchers can sell to raise money for themselves also. They
Yes.
have a woodworking program also where they build different things like furniture and clocks and things. So each one of those, I'm going to have ranchers talk about what they do and what their passions are. But then we're going to end with a panel interview where I'm going to send out to these companies beforehand, like kind of prompting questions. Hey, if you have deep life questions that you want to hear a different perspective on, send me your questions. And then we're going to give them to the ranchers and kind of talk about it and find out what their answers are. But at the end, it's going to be a live panel interview with 5, 6, 10, however many of these ranchers want to participate. And they're going to be answering deep life questions from their point of view. Because one thing I learned growing up with my brother is his perspective is so different that it's quite fascinating. It's like when you ask little kids about adult topics, when you
Yeah.
hear what they think, you're like, whoa, I never even thought about that. Well, this is going to be that same type of thing. And I think it's going to be very awakening for a lot of people in the corporate industries
Yes.
to hear the perspective of people with special needs, because sometimes they will break it down to its most simplest form that the rest of us tried to complicate way too much.
Yes.
And so any companies that book this, if they do the virtual thing, that's what they're going to get with Down Home Ranch. But I'm also setting up in-person retreats
That would be
where,
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, Down Home Ranch has a little conference center and they have a ropes course and they have archery and things like that. And so I'm going to also be
I
setting up
really need
in
to send
person.
you this map, Judah. I don't know whether I'm writing down that ranch thing, because
Uh-huh.
the thing you just brought up, I would say, make me cry right now. Like probably 80% of the things you said, or it's 80% of what I wrote down is what you just said.
Wow.
That's crazy. Let
That's
me hold on. Give me 1 second.
that's powerful.
So I'm not sure whether I'm channeling, but this is what I wrote down. So this
Okay.
this is a core, but the north will be meditation. Our silent, like the silence retreat, the vision quest. But the part
Yeah.
you're talking about was growing vegetables, right? Uh,
Uh-huh.
like herbs, the making things. And
Uh-huh.
people have this like sewing thing, dance, then archery, teach people how to use the. And I was like, is that crazy? And on this side is the healing center, is do breath work, do the combo zeta healing,
Uh-huh.
the um
Yeah. It can be all tied in together. And
yes.
yeah, and it's stuff that these companies, and what's funny is I have that wheel that you just drew. I have it tattooed on my back. I don't know if you know that or not. It's on my shoulder.
So maybe
I
I'm
have a compass.
channeling for you.
I'm a big, I don't know if it'll show up, but I've got a compass. Yeah, I've got a compass tattooed on my shoulder.
Well,
But
wow.
yeah, it's I just think like these companies are already doing these retreats anyways, and this is a way to truly give back, but also like, I mean, yeah, like you said you wanted to cry, and I can watch any of these videos that Down Home Ranch has made and on YouTube, and it'll make me teary-eyed, which is strange because I can't remember the last time I cried. Like, just I grew up as, you got to be hard, and you got to be a man, and men don't cry or whatever. And I could see death all day long, doesn't even shake an emotion in me whatsoever. But when I see somebody with Down syndrome or autism and they're just doing anything, like, man, it just invokes this huge emotional response in me. And that's one of the ways that I knew that this is what I need to be doing. And so
Oh,
I'm going to do it. And
you are
when
doing it.
companies, yeah, I'm doing it. And I'm going to just keep championing this message and just showing these companies. The irony is that for a long time, I always wanted to be a wealthy business owner. I wanted to have a huge business with lots of money, blah, blah, blah. Well, I realized that the only reason I wanted to make a lot of money was to give it away. I wanted to support places like Down Home Ranch. So I'm just going to go do it and the money will follow. I've already
Always
manifested
support
somebody's,
it. Yes.
yeah, somebody's going to write me $1 million check within the next year for this ranch. I already know it. So I don't know who it's going to be, but someone's going to do it. And my goal, so part of the ranchers that live there, some of them are funded through Medicaid, and some of them are private funding. And so my brother is having to be private funded, and it's not cheap to have him live there. But my goal is I want to have a like a trust fund set up or a foundation where I can raise enough money that all of the privately funded residents that live there, their family they don't have to pay to have them live there. They can live there for free. It's a scholarship fund.
Yeah.
And eventually, right now they have 50 full-time residents living there. I want to build the infrastructure where they can have 200, 300 residents living there because they have the land for it, but they don't have the infrastructure and they don't have the funding to build out that many tiny homes yet. And so I want to land some big companies that have the money that they need to do tax write-offs, and this is how they donate, and they donate big dollars so we can get this stuff done. That's my ultimate goal.
You are doing it. I can see the putting the web and everything's follow. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Wow. Okay. So thank you for the story. Thanks for your story of, shifting from 100 days before. I literally can make a title 100 days before and 100 days later transformation journey. But we will see what's the title come up. But thank you so much for sharing this. And when we like wrap up this episode, how people find you. Do you have the website for the offering heart now?
Yes. Yep. So they can go to www.offeringheart.com.
Yes.
And if they want to specifically look at Down Home Ranch, it's www.downhomeranch.org.
Mm-hmm.
And they can go on YouTube. I believe Down Home Ranch is on all social media. They can also access the social media for Down Home Ranch through my website, offeringheart.com. People can email me there if they would like to. It's just Jake Hastings at offeringheart.com is my email, and I'm responsive and I love chatting with people. So hit me
Yeah.
up.
Yes. Or if they want to connect you personally to see your beautiful pictures you're taking around the
Oh,
journey, they can find your Instagram, Jake Hastings, right? Jake
yeah,
Hastings Travel.
yep, Jake Hastings Travels on
Yes.
Instagram.
Beautiful. So thank you so much, and thanks you guys for listening and tuning to this episode of Unity Through Diversity. And I will see you guys next week.